But I did want to talk about the whole scope of the library. The library has been here since 1803. Haddonfield is one of the oldest libraries in the country, and definitely in New Jersey. It started in 1803 when the library company, which was a private subscription company, got together and people wanted some kind of a library, and a subscription library means you have to pay to borrow the books. So the library company had a very small library for a long time. They did have trouble getting a permanent home, and they moved around a lot to the Friends schools and other places. And they did not buy any novels because the Quakers were very prevalent in Haddonfield, and Quakers didn't approve of fiction. So it was more of a nonfiction, factual library. Well, in 1887, the Athenaeum came into being, and that was another group that wanted a library. And between the two groups, they worked together to build a better library, but they still had the problem of not having a permanent home. So about 1909, the citizens of Haddonfield voted by referendum to create a public municipal library, which is the present library we have. And the Athenaeum and the library company couldn't exactly agree on the building, but they did agree to give their books. So once the library came into being from the referendum, the present building construction started here, and it started in 1917, finished in 1919, a little long because World War I was on. And the first library had the books, as I said, of the Athenaeum and the library company. And that was no longer subscription. That was a free public library as it is today, which means tax dollars support it rather than subscriptions. So anybody who lives or works or is a full-time student in Haddonfield can use the library. And for many years that functioned well. They had about 3,000 books when they started, and it expanded. But by 1958 it was getting a little crowded again, and an addition was built around the back, and that is what we call the C wraparound. The original building was like a T, the oldest part when you walk in, and then the middle part where the reference desk is. And then the C was the wraparound that is the children's department, the balcony area, and the two buildings on the side that are now the teen room and the New Jersey room. So, and I forgot to mention that the Historical Society was part of the building here in the beginning. If you look at the top of the building, it says the Haddonfield Library and Historical Society, and the Historical Society moved out in 1938, and as you know, they're now down at the museum on Kings Highway. And so the library has an interesting history, and it was also one of the first to have Sunday hours starting in the 1940s, and that is still a very busy day. So fast forward to 2014, and the library is again going to expand. This has been being planned for many years, and we will have a 2,000 square foot addition on Tanner Street behind the building. This will provide complete handicapped access and elevator through all 3 levels of the building, and the whole building will be modernized for handicapped access, which is sorely needed. And also, in true Haddonfield tradition, all the building systems will be upgraded. As the high school and many other buildings, the roof needs to be replaced. They're physical things because it's such an old building that really needs upgrading, heat, lights, all those things will be done. And the third part is that we'll modernize for the 21st century. I did want to talk a little bit about libraries. People say now, well, why do we even need to do this? Libraries are going away. And from my point of view as a longtime library director, I don't see that as being true. Libraries have reinvented themselves several times. At the turn of the 20th century, when immigrants were coming from Europe and all over the world, libraries in New York and big cities were, public libraries were places where people went to learn the language, to assimilate as an adjunct to the educational system, that immigrants would use public libraries heavily, as would lots of other people. They've always been called the poor man's university because you can go in and use your library card and you don't have to pay for the use of the book. So in my career, libraries have reinvented themselves several times. Libraries now do programming, service technology centers. They're really the one place in the community where people can come in and have that space away from home, and it's a community center of sorts. meeting rooms, there are lectures, and the Haddonfield Library has a long tradition of lectures going back to the Library Company and the Athenaeum, and we still have a number of educational lectures and plan to do more with the expanded building. So I see libraries as really taking off again because they're one of the few places where public service is important. And now as the government goes more into e-government, electronic government, for example, the Affordable Care Act that's just come into being, people will be coming here once it gets off the ground for help. Not that we tell them what to do, but we serve as a referral agency and help people to navigate those systems, because so often with government now you just get a 1-800 number or go to a website, and librarians are skilled navigators and they really help people with the overwhelming information that people have to navigate. And that happened with taxes. The government stopped printing tax forms and just put it on websites. And we do a lot of what I call e-government service, as well as early literacy. You hear the children's department, there are activities out there, and we truly serve everyone in the community. Our circulation is about 134,000 items a year that still go out. It's climbing, especially with ebooks. We are going into ebooks in a big way, and so people can read print, they can listen to books, they can listen on their device or with their headphones, and they can read ebooks. And so libraries are continuing to expand, and as I said, they're really the only place left where you have, one of the few places where you have a person that's devoted to helping you. So we're excited about the future of the Haddonfield Public Library, and I predict that people in 200 years will be using the Haddonfield Public Library as they did in 1803.